Welcome to Crypto Calypto, home of the no-nonsense truth in crypto. So today we'll get into four things. First of all, the chart. How's that doing for us? Cardano. Big news today. I think a big congrats goes out to Charles and the team. And thirdly, we're going to talk about S.C.U.M. That's right. You heard me right. S.C.U.M. And lastly, we're going to look at the big picture. So let's get right into it. Okay, digging right into my chart, you can see, that it's freaking spot on. The fact that I developed this over 3 months ago, that's quite extraordinary if you think about it. When you consider that not only is it extremely accurate, but monthly flow is 100% accurate. Thus the clickbait, 100% accurate. And by the way, this is when top channels were telling you we're going parabolic this month, remember? As you can see, when we started rallying to about the 51 price, it was swatted down. And the only reason we briefly got above that is because the manipulated drop was cleverly timed to the El Salvador event. You may notice the trend line starts late August. This is because that's when I started online documentation to establish a credibility timeline for confirmation. The chart actually goes back to late June and was also spot on, but that's just me telling you without proof and, requires a bit of trust. So how was I able to come up with this chart? It's extremely complicated, actually. For specific analysis, I've included, with a varying degree of weight, things like stock to flow, Wyckoff patterns, traditional TA historical cycle trends, on-chain adoption flows and demands, and much more. But that's just the beginning. Most of my career success has come from analysis, interpretation, data extrapolation, and most importantly, adopting a macro worldwide perspective of not just crypto and finance, but far deeper implications. I'm able to do that because of having met people at high-level positions from all over the world, courtesy of having run a huge microgrid community energy feasibility study, government contracts, and family and friends in virtually every crypto city hub, such as Manhattan, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, much more, actually. Finally, I'm good at connecting dots. I may or not go down the rabbit hole in future videos, but in a nutshell, this is the chart I am confident to say the oligarch hegemony has set for this year. Everything else, and I mean everything else, cascades from there with lots of maneuvering, posturing, resulting in volatility in between. Politicians, three-letter agencies, governments, corporations and their lobbyists, central banks, that's all tier 4 to 6 players. This is to date the most accurate chart in the crypto space. Do your own research. Don't use this to trade, and of course this video is strictly for entertainment purposes. But you might want to pay attention. Again, we got swatted down when the price started straying up, and that was easy pickings with uninformed leveraged retail. It looks like 43 is roughly the planned bottom, and again, this chart is a few months old, but derived from collected info that suggests this chart represents a plan likely adopted maybe a year ago. And guess what will almost exactly coordinate with this chart bottom? Ding, ding, ding. That's right, the golden cross, which historically provides strong psychological bullish strength for the space. Then if I'm right, we hit the 80s, and here's where, once again, I differ from the top channel predictions. That's because I don't consider this chart a prediction. It's a plan. Most channels are saying either we rally this month and go bear cycle in the fall, or we rally next month and continue up through spring and go bear cycle then. The latter is more correct in my opinion, and historically most accurate, and that's based almost exclusively on stock to flow. However, the oligarch hegemony knows this, along with knowing the flip side of their 21 plan. And what's the flip side of the 21 plan? A November legacy correction. So for those two reasons, I see us correcting significantly in November with a nice year-end moonshot to 100 plus for Bitcoin. For 2022, I have no idea. I'll start to research this next month. Unlike this year, next year will be more difficult for me to connect the dots because some of my top-level contacts I've lost. They're in China, and the CCP is going through a massive and comprehensive plan to revert to traditional communism, and they're cutting off all Western influences. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but you don't hear much from top social media names from China any longer. There could be a whole video on that as well, but we need to move on. By the way, if you like this content or want weekly updates on my chart, click on the subscribe, give this a thumbs up, and hit the notifications bell. I think it's time we start spreading this info. Let's move on to Cardano. Congrats to Charles, the entire Cardano team, and the entire ecosystem connected to Cardano. I know there's been a ton of strong and sometimes heated narratives surrounding this project. Some of the criticisms, well, quite frankly, they're well-deserved. Charles, in his enthusiasm and passion, prematurely speculated some timelines in the past that failed. And he can be unbecomingly defensive and occasionally outright immature with social media vernacular, but I think he's learning as he goes on communication etiquette in the role of a relatively young CEO. However, ultimately, his brain, the collective genius of his team, the cumulative passion threaded within the technology fabric of development, the community support, especially with staking, and most importantly, the extreme disruptive nature of the Gen 3 architecture, makes this, in my opinion, the North Star project for the next few years. The ease of migration from other extreme high-fee platforms, the scalability and worldwide adoption capabilities across an unfathomable amount of industries, financial independence from strong-arm VC money, institutional adoption, and much more makes this the most brilliantly constructed project to date for our top 10 projects. Now, that's not to say there are some equally brilliant or possibly superior projects in the mid-caps or micros, but for top players right now, I'm a fan of this project. With Cardano, one perspective nobody else talks about or understands is their position related to my former theses, namely the oligarch hegemony, who quite frankly don't pay attention to anything other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that fact, along with the amazing 70% staking, gives Cardano an advantage as a sleeping giant. You see, Bitcoin has been lost to the control of the whales because of this rotating cycle of swallowing up leveraged retail money. And because we've been more interested on chasing quick money than humanity's future, this has been child's play for them to accumulate a controlling interest, which they clearly have at this point. And ETH is close to and will be in the same pond. But Cardano, they've been immune to that. And so why does that matter? It matters because as top alts decouple from Bitcoin, and they will sometime in the next 12 months, if not sooner, they will be beyond the control of the oligarch hegemony for the most part. I could go on and on about this, but let's move on. Speaking of the controlling oligarch hegemony, they are the one and the same with my next topic. S.C.U.M. What is S.C.U.M? Well, you may say it's the Twitter haters or anyone who disagrees with your viewpoint, or people in appointed positions who destroy the lives of the innocent. Well, the latter may be true, but the S.C.U.M I refer to is the very oligarch hegemony I've been alluding to. I've been searching for an acronym for this oligarch group who may also refer to as the elite cabal or powers to be, etc. But I hereby declare they shall forever be referred to as the secret cabal using manipulation, or S.C.U.M for short. Quite fitting, don't you think? So, who are these S.C.U.M? Well, I think I've got a pretty good indication as to where they are and how they operate. Do I know by name or entity exactly who or what they are? No. And neither does all but less than maybe 100 people on the planet. Look, I've talked to senators, top CEOs, largest VC firm CFOs, lobbyists, so forth and so on, and I can tell you, without hesitation, none of these people have a clue who they are. How can that be? And what the hell does this have to do with crypto? Well, it's that way because through our narcissistic tendencies and lack of critical thinking, we've enabled it to be that way. And as to what this has to do with crypto, everything. Although they can control cryptocurrency, they cannot control crypto blockchain evolution. Currency will eventually fall under the control of the S.C.U.M, but blockchain, along with many other converging disruptive technologies, will, in my opinion, usher in a new worldwide humanitarian paradigm. This is a very deep and complex subject matter and involves a journey down the rabbit hole, and I will be making a future video covering this in great detail. But again, too much information and not enough time. So our last topic is the big picture. And this segues from what I was just covering, and I'll make this brief for now. Ultimately, we live in a time of shifting consciousness with unimaginable converging technologies that will entirely disrupt everything in history up to this point. The quality of that disruptive evolution is directly proportional to our assigned value to humanity's well-being. That's worth repeating. The quality of that disruptive evolution is directly proportional to our assigned value to humanity's well-being. Every time we day trade or quick swing trade crypto, we are further enabling the S.C.U.M and further delaying a better future for ourselves and generations to come. Look, I get it. I'm not putting anybody down. Yes, many are in crypto with extreme greed for quick gains, but there's also a fair portion who are simply attempting to improve the livelihoods of their household, and that is understandable and commendable. But ultimately, this is a battle for our future, and the sooner everyone understands that, the sooner it potentially improves. Myself personally, I feel a bit the hypocrite because I long swing trade 50% of my portfolio because short term, I understand the crypto space is transitioning to diminished returns. So I hodl 50% on principal and swing trade the rest. Next year, I'm going 60% hodl for the same reason. We need to wrap up. We covered my chart and where we are, which is virtually 100% accurate. We talked about Cardano, its disruptive next-gen development and potential worldwide effects. We talked about the secret cabal using manipulation, who will forever more be labeled S.C.U.M. And lastly, we touched on the big picture, which I hope to elaborate more on in future videos. I genuinely feel the chart can help people from becoming wrecked. In fact, I've been told it already has, so it's important we start to share this. New channels can only grow with your help by hitting the like button for the algorithm gods and subscribing and sharing. 'Cause we know